But that's the process with Saturn. I mean, that's such a perfect Saturn story, because that's how our lives work. We repeat these insane patterns. Why do I keep doing this thing over and over again? And then suddenly we realize, oh wow, I've actually got skills that are taking me in the direction of what I want to be doing. Or I discover a new way to approach what I have been learning how to do that makes it more exciting and more relevant to my life. Right? So it's all about going through the motions with our bodies, and it takes our brains a long time to catch up with what we're doing. So it's a very, it's that practical learning, practical growth. And the Cancer Capricorn polarity, that's what it is. It's the whole process of evolution. That's how it works. You know, the cycles of the seasons, every year looks the same as every other year if you're a flower, but every year if you're a tree, you get deeper and bigger and stronger. So in Cancer, we don't really grow. No, the moon doesn't change. It's where we are eternally, we go through our cycles, but we're ancient and timeless. And, you know, like the earth or the moon itself. I mean, that's where we're impressionable. The moon is very impressionable. The astronauts' footprints aren't going away unless somebody flies back up there and sweeps them off and ties it and smooths it away. It's not going to happen. And that's where we take in emotional impressions. In infancy, in the womb, in childhood, we're affected. And the only way we can clear those impressions or heal from them if they're wounding is through vibrating our emotional body, through going through that, you know, literally flying to the moon and clearing it away for ourselves. And Cancer and Capricorn are also associated with parenthood and, you know, the nurturer and the disciplinarian, you know, the parents. Not necessarily the mother as nurturer and the father as disciplinarian. Some families have it the other way around. You know, back in the dawn of time when people were first starting to notice things like, oh yeah, you know, the sun actually does come back regularly every year. Before that, they were like, doing their rituals and all this stuff in order to make the sun come back. They were so, the cultures at the time were so insecure, very much like our own childhoods, that they couldn't trust that the sun would come back.
If they didn't do ritual.
Exactly. And then at some point it was like, oh, you know what? We forgot to do the ritual this year and the sun came back anyway. Or some radical rebel said, these rituals are stupid and a waste of time, and people believed them and they didn't do it and the sun still came back. So it's that growth, that evolution. Well, we can trust the sun, we can trust the physical processes of life to be what they are. And that was kind of the beginning of the end of magic in a way. We started to take it all for granted. And Capricorn is also where we tend to take things for granted. Once we gain a skill, we're like, we never think about that anymore. We don't have to think about how to walk anymore. But it's really good if we do. You know, if we do take some time and do a really meditative movement where, you know, things like Tai Chi and yoga help us come into that awareness so we can break out of the habits. That's the downfall of Capricorn.
Capricorn is having ingrained habits that they don't think about.
Getting rigidified. Taking things for granted, going unconscious. Similarly with Cancer, we fall into emotional habits.
No way.
Can't relate to that one at all, right? It's where we react unconsciously. And the moon being the ruler of Cancer, wherever the moon is, that shows how we express our emotions, how we express our emotional habits. So somebody with an Aries moon is going to express their...
Fiery.
Yeah, it's going to be angry. Capricorn, well, on the other hand,
will
react by freezing up.
Right, you'll be quiet.
Getting judgmental, deciding that this person isn't worth my time. And if you really knew me, you'd know exactly how I'm feeling and why I'm upset with you, and you'll know that I'm upset with you, even though I'm not giving you any clues.
like
it's where we have these emotional assumptions.
Right.
We just assume
God.
so deeply, it
That
feels
they
like
must
instinct.
know.
Yeah,
The
it
other
just feels
person
like
must know.
instinct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course I'm angry! How can you not understand why I'm angry? But there are 12 different signs
Ways
for the moon
to be angry.
and many more combinations of signs and houses and aspects. Our biological conditioning has a lot to do,
Yeah.
and you can't see that, we're all very subject to our DNA. Our genetic code, that's a Saturn thing too. Like Capricorn is all about the physical laws that bind us, that literally bind us, and it's because Capricorn is about binding. Single-celled organisms, the process of evolving to experimentation, to working out how to utilize the resources around you, how to bind with other organisms, how to, all of that stuff, that's all a Capricornian process, and it's been a long haul, and in our Capricorn selves, we've been there for the whole trip. It's where our memory goes right back to the beginnings of life, right? It's really, Cancer and Capricorn polarity, that's our deep roots into time. Cancer is where we remember it emotionally. Remember how it feels to be struggling for so long and to be so alone, and how precious our infants are to us, because that was our first company in our evolutionary history. The very, very, very before tribes, there was the parent-child bond. Like our reproductive lineage, that's the very first bond. Whether we started to divide like cells back when we were plankton or whatever. Capricorn being on the 10th house on the midheaven and being the cardinal earth sign is about the beginnings of life on the planet. And how that life evolves. And we're in this very precarious situation right now where we think we've established this stable system, but from the Capricornian point of view, it's a blink of an eye, that we've been civilized and that we've had technology and that we've had all these laws that, that could fall in a minute relative to the time frame of the earth, right? So it's a construct, and we've started to take things for granted that are really actually quite ephemeral. We've become a multi-celled organism as a species, really, and we're starting to bond with the planet, some of us.